Coming up next on Correctional TV, this has to be one of the most embarrassing civil cases the U.S. Justice Department and the Federal Bureau of Prisons has ever had to answer to. But wait till you find out what a federal judge in West Virginia did. Welcome to Correctional TV. James Joseph Bulger, a.k.a. Whitey Bulger, was a reputed leader of Boston's Winter Hill Gang. Bulger was revealed by the FBI to have served as an informant starting in 1975, ratting on Boston's underworld. Bulger was also known to the FBI as Informant BS-1544-TE. The BS was code for Boston FBI informant and TE coded for top echelon. Whitey Bulger was accused of rising to power in Boston's underworld by snitching and committing a series of murders while law enforcement was rumored to turn a blind eye.
Bulger was an infamous mobster, of course, who once helped law enforcement, and now two sources.
James Whitey Bulger is the alleged former boss of the Winter Hill mob, and he's linked to 21 murders.
He was a scourge to the society in South Boston, his own community.
He was also a scourge to the FBI and a great source of embarrassment to Tian, Special Agent Phil Torsney, and others on the FBI task force. Years earlier, Whitey Bulger had infiltrated the Boston office of the FBI and bought off agents who protected him and plied him with information.
Whitey Bulger was not only on FBI's payroll, but had infiltrated the Boston FBI, placing several agents on his own payroll. On December 23rd of 1994, Bulger fled the Boston area and went into hiding after his disgraced FBI handler, John Conley, tipped him off about a pending RICO indictment. Conley had grown up in Old Harbor Housing Project, also known as the Mary Ellen McCormick Project. This was the same childhood home as Whitey Bulger and his associate Stephen Joseph Fleming, a.k.a. the Rifleman, who was also an FBI snitch. For over 16 years, Whitey Bulger made a mockery of the FBI by staying on the land. Finally, on June 22nd of 2011, the FBI got a break. Whitey Bulger was finally brought to justice.
Morning. The Boston mob boss who outsmarted and embarrassed federal agents for the last 16 years is a fugitive no more.
Yeah, the FBI wasted no time updating its website overnight, changing Whitey Bulger's status to captured after agents arrested him and his girlfriend in California.
He was later sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 5 years for racketeering and alleged ties to 13 murders. On October 29th of 2018, Whitey Bulger was transferred from a federal transfer facility in Oklahoma to USP Hazleton in West Virginia. October 29th, he was placed in general population despite his well-known status as an East Coast organized crime snitch. At 8 a.m. on October 30th, the 89-year-old Bulger was found dead, beaten in his wheelchair to the point where his eyes were nearly gouged out, with a weapon that was described as a padlock wrapped in a sock. Bulger's death was the 3rd homicide at the prison in less than 40 days. Bulger didn't last more than 4 hours in general population at Hazleton's Penitentiary in West Virginia.
We're just learning that the notorious gangster James Whitey Bulger has been killed in prison. Officials had just moved him to a prison in West Virginia. Bulger is infamously known as eluding authorities for 16 years. He was serving 2 life sentences for his involvement in nearly a dozen murders. Let's check in with our national correspondent, Jason Carroll. Jason, what can you tell us?
Yeah, the Wolf, and the details still coming in on this. This is a man who lived a violent life, had a violent history, and now it appears he has come to a very violent end. James Whitey Bulger, as you said, multiple sources telling us that he was killed at that facility, that federal facility in West Virginia. Apparently it happened this morning. Still trying to get details about who was responsible for this and how it all happened. But again, multiple sources telling us that it did in fact happen this morning. The 89-year-old had just been transferred from a prison in Florida to another facility in Oklahoma before recently being transferred to that facility in West Virginia. Bulger, as you were saying, was serving 2 life sentences after being convicted in 2013 for a litany of crimes, including racketeering and murder. He, at one point, Wolf, as you may remember, was on the FBI's most wanted fugitives list.
The brutal attack taking place inside the 89-year-old's cell just hours after he arrived at this West Virginia prison. Citing individuals briefed on the attack, the Boston Globe revealing investigators now eyeing 2 of Bulger's fellow inmates as potential suspects. One of them, 51-year-old Phocius Freddie Gius, a mafia hitman from Western Massachusetts, serving a life sentence for his role in 2 murders. The Globe reporting video surveillance captured Gius and another inmate entering Bulger's cell.
So while we're getting a better picture of what happened to Bulger, there is still one big mystery that remains. Why was he transferred to the West Virginia prison in the first place? And why was he placed in the general population? His death at that notoriously violent facility is the 3rd in 7 months, guys. They're supposedly very understaffed. There are a lot of people wondering if this was an accident waiting to happen.
Bulger's murder has gone unprosecuted despite video showing 2 identified inmates entering his cell. Now a federal judge in West Virginia has thrown out a case filed by Whitey Bulger's family, who sought answers on why the 89-year-old high-profile crime figure was transferred to the Hazleton Penitentiary and classified for general population. The dismissal of the case only raises questions about the Justice Department's handling of this high-profile figure. Inquiring minds do want to know more information. It's unknown at this time if the case is up for appeal, but we will be waiting. Subscribe to our channel for the latest news and information about Americans, prisons, and jails.